And just like that, the Detroit Tigers are on a win streak, baby. Let's talk about it all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Monday, May 27th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Welcome in everybody on this Memorial Day as we honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. Thank you so much to anyone who has served, and obviously forever in debt to those who have made that ultimate sacrifice. I think it's important to remember, you have Monday off and whatnot, why we have why this day exists. So wanted to start off the show by saying that on this beautiful weekend, and the Detroit Tigers actually contributing to said beautiful weekend, something that we are not necessarily used to in the month of May, but they are on a 3-game win streak, just like that. Absolutely fantastic weekend, a weird weekend of baseball, but a fantastic weekend of baseball. We would gladly take 3-0. They win the series against the Blue Jays. That's obviously 3 in a 4-game set after the 1-9 blowout loss. On Thursday, they won 6-2, 2-1, and 14-11 on Sunday, which we will talk about obviously at some point. An absolutely ridiculous ball game. They are now 26-27 on the season. It's funny looking back at last week and like Friday, obviously, again, I think the only way to describe really Friday's episode was an absolute temper tantrum of sorts. Just so whiny and doom and gloom, rightfully so. I don't take back a single thing that I said on Friday. And when we look back on, I think it was Thursday's episode, right? So when the losing streak was at 4 games, and, said something on the lines of they need to take at least 3 of 4 this weekend to really kind of reel people back in and kind of, re-inject some sort of optimism into this fan base. And that is exactly what the Detroit Tigers did against a struggling Blue Jays team that is now 23-29 on the season. Locked On Blue Jays does a fantastic job, so not going to get too much into the Jays here. We have way too much to talk about on the Tigers side of things on top of that. But, is there a young core in recent memory that has been as much of a letdown as the Jays have, right? I don't want to call them a disappointment necessarily, because we haven't gone 500 since I was in high school, and I'm in my mid-20s. I'm not trying to compare and contrast the two franchises. The Tigers have been an absolute bleep show for the better part of a decade, but the Jays, that core was supposed to be the future of baseball, right? That was legitimately supposed to be this is going to be one of the juggernauts of the sport, at least of the American League, for the foreseeable future. And every year they win 88 to 91-ish games. They're a wild card team, and then they get swept in the first round. Every year since COVID. And so since the COVID season, I should say. And it's so wild. And now they're 23-29. Maybe they sell at the deadline. We still got a couple of months until the deadline's even, those conversations are heating up, but just that they are so fascinating to me because they have so much talent. If they did blow it up and try to sell, that they would have offers on 2/3 of their roster, right? Maybe more. But they just can't string wins together. And it's been a reoccurring theme for most of this era of Blue Jays baseball. It's just really fascinating to me. So again, Locked On Jays does a fantastic job over there. The Tigers now a game under 500 with the 3-game winning streak. What went right this weekend. Some offense. I know. I'm just as surprised as you. Saturday was a very an April Tigers win, if you will, right? A 2-1 victory. Not a lot of offense. Pitching really had to shut the door there. I got caught in between saying slam and shut the door there, and it came out like that. But Sunday and Friday, you had really solid offensive performances. Obviously, Sunday was ridiculous. I'll say the same thing, though. Not to put, like dunking anybody's Cheerios here, but like all May, we've been talking about how these guys just love scoring like 15 runs once every 10 days out of nowhere. Like I need to see more consistency, but like I'm not going to let these last 3 games just completely change my tempo on the whole season or like my offensive opinion that I talked about on Friday. Right? Obviously a much different light. We're winning. That's great. Much more upbeat show today. But like this was a great weekend of baseball, but need to see it again and again and again and again and again and again and again before I am just going to completely change my opinion of what, this team is showing lately and what this offense has become. But a great offensive weekend outside of, again, a little, but even Tuesday, even Saturday, some decent performances. Kerry Carpenter being probably the most noteworthy hitter of the weekend, maybe the most noteworthy player of the weekend. Him or Colt Keith, I'm sure. Kerry Carpenter is on absolute fire. We'll talk about him not being in the lineup on Sunday in stuff at the end of the show. But he has an OPS of 914 on the season now. He has like 3 or 4 home runs in the last week. He has been on absolute fire and is legitimately proving yet again that he is going to be one of the bigger hitting threats against righties that really out there right now, right? Like really in the American League, you can say, so far this season. He has just been absolutely phenomenal. His bat path is perfect. And when I say that, I mean, if you look at his mechanics, he doesn't have like the most necessarily fluid swing in the world, right? It's maybe not like the prettiest thing ever. But his bat path is literally an exact barrel, right? A barrel, according to like Baseball Savant and StatCast data and whatnot, is 95 or more miles an hour off the bat. And then there's a launch angle requirement, right? It has to be between these 2 launch angles to be a barrel. And the path his bat takes on his swing is just like he just starts lower, and it's not an uppercut, but it's exactly like a barrel like angle. And we've talked about that a lot, especially when he first came up. If you listen to the show a couple years ago, we talked about how impressed I was with that. And it really leads to some, when he's hot, he is legitimately one of the better hitters in the sport. And the fact that we have anybody on this team that you can say that about, I think is very impressive. So Kerry Carpenter obviously leading the charge, but a lot of home runs this weekend as a whole, something we haven't said too much in the month of May or seen really much lately. So a lot of home runs this weekend, a great sign. And then Colt Keith, now in the month of May, has a 362 average and an OPS over 900. Awesome, considering that it was like 400 in April. Finally gets his first major league home run, a hanging changeup from Alek Manoah. They've been doing a great job of covering this on the broadcast the last couple of weeks. The adjustments that Colt Keith has been making already in his major league career, like removing the big leg kick that he had, has clearly done wonders for his timing. It's more of a toe tap now. Again, Benetti, Simo, etc. have all done a great job of covering that on the broadcast the last week or so. But it's a fantastic sign, that he's continuing to make adjustments. We knew he was, and we've been talking about those, but seeing those just like pay off has to be so validating and feels so good for him. And honestly, now like the pendulum's swinging really far the other way. Like now he's getting like bloopers to fall and like weak hits to find the outfield grass and whatnot. And he's still hitting the ball hard as well, right? Like the home run, he had a sharp double in this weekend, in this series rather, as well. But it's really nice to see him finally get rewarded and finally get let off the hook a little bit. I think against righties, you probably got to move him up in the lineup a little bit. I'm not saying he should bat like 2 or 3, but maybe he can bat 5 against righties going forward. And I do want to see him get opportunities against lefties, which again, we'll talk about a little bit more at length in stuff at the end. We got a few more performances to talk about. Then we'll talk about what went wrong. And then everyone's favorite category segment, whatever you want to call it, stuff. We will do all of that right after this. Going to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app will actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. You can pick out any specific game or matchups that you would love to attend and find a ton of fantastic deals. Last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. It's easy to find and buy MLB tickets for every kind of event in your area. You get views from all the seats in the venue, and they also have the lowest price guarantee, which guarantees that they will have the lowest price out there. They have event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and so much more. Just a great customer service policy, one of the best in the ticketing industry. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day, and we will be back tomorrow. I think we'll be back tomorrow. We'll see. With it being Memorial Day, and I record these the day before. The Tigers have an off day on Monday as well. We'll see. Might try and do a minor league update, but we'll see what we have time for. Also, be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today, the free 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, or for free in the Amazon Fire TV channels app. Tigers win 3 straight this weekend, take 3 of 4 from the Toronto Blue Jays. Other players that find themselves in the category of what went right this weekend, certainly Matt Vierling. Have a weekend and have a day on Sunday. Matty V, 2 home runs in the outing. There was actually some wild stats going around in his first home run. Was go watch that homer. That ball like almost hit him. It looked like it was so far inside, and he was able to pull it low line drive to the pull side. Obviously gets 2 home runs to the pull side, which we talked about a lot over the offseason. And then obviously with the walk-off home run on Sunday's game. I've always said Matt Vierling is the most clutch player on the team. All the everydayers know that, right? Obviously kidding, but it's nice. It's nice to see. It's really nice to see. I've been very hard on Matt Vierling's lack of RISP production, and seeing him go out and get obviously the biggest hit of the weekend arguably is a great sign. So hopefully that's a sign of some momentum going forward or some things to come. But yeah, Matt Vierling, fantastic weekend. Mark Canha looks like he's starting to hit again, which is great. You knew he wasn't going to have like 430 whatever OPS that he had for most of May. You knew that wasn't going to last, but you also knew on the flip side that the 930 OPS he had for the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season wasn't going to last. So if he can just settle in and be that consistent, 750 to 770 OPS guy, I'm going to be a happy camper. Had a huge hit on Sunday, obviously, as well. Starting pitching on Friday and Saturday, more things that went very, very right. Kenta Maeda, 5 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 1 strikeout. The slider and the splitter were really solid. This one, splitter, changeup, whatever you want to call it. The fastball I thought was meh. Like it was a Kenta Maeda fastball. I didn't think it was commanded super well, but he got away with it. So I'm going to gladly take it. Obviously, we'll gladly take 5 innings of shutout ball. He didn't miss a lot of bats in this one, but it got a lot of flyouts. And again, was keeping hitters off balance pretty consistently with the slider, fastball, and changeup splitter combo there. I thought the sequencing was really solid. Good catching in that ball game. And then Reese Olson, 6 1/3, 3 hits, 1 run. It wasn't earned, so he has 0 earned runs on the day, 3 walks, which is a little high for him, and 4 strikeouts. Anything is possible. Okay, go ask out, your crush. Go play the. Well, I probably shouldn't say that. Go do something that you didn't think was possible, because Reese Olson has a win. Reese Olson has a win in 2024. It is nothing short of a miracle. He has a 1.92 ERA on the season and just got his first win of the year. Again, a testament to the struggles this offense has faced, but he has legitimately been one of the best pitchers in baseball this season. He had, like I said, he had a little bit of walk troubles later on in this outing. Command got away from him at one point, but it wasn't like concerning. It wasn't like sound the alarms concerning. And honestly, with better defense, he might even go 7. He might even finishes that inning off, but some weak defense behind him in that final inning of play. His secondary stuff is just so good. I know we talk about that literally all the time, but his fastball, while I always say that it lacks swing and miss consistency, gets a ton of ground balls. And the fact that he can do that and get swings and misses, that is the perfect pitcher in 2024. That if you were to build a prototype starting pitcher, it would be someone that gets swings and misses, and when they do pitch to contact, the ball is on the ground. That is exactly what you want every starting pitcher in today's day and age of baseball to emulate. And that's what he does. He is phenomenal. And there's a lot of things that make him really good. One of them is his ability to attack all quadrants of the zone with like all of his pitches against both handedness of hitters, right? His entire repertoire can be used against righties and lefties and be placed anywhere in the strike zone. That's versatility, that's being dynamic, and he has just been absolutely unbelievable. A sub-2 ERA legitimately has been one of the better pitchers in baseball. So those are the things that went right this weekend. Quite a lot. Let's talk about what went wrong, even though they did win 3 straight. Still wasn't a perfect weekend. Certainly if you watch Sunday, you are aware that it was not a perfect weekend. I want to start off with the bullpen. And I guess we can kind of use this as a transition from good to bad, because on Saturday they were good. On Saturday you had Faedo, Holton, Foley all go out there, put up zeros, hang on to a 1-run lead. Beautiful. Okay, so credit where credit is due there. Before this conversation, everyone did their job and held on to the win on Saturday in what was a very close game. But look, you had an implosion Sunday, an implosion. And Chafin continues to struggle right on Friday. If you look at these bullpen stats, you now have Joey Wentz. His ERA is over 4.5. Tyler Holton's ERA is over 4.6. Foley's ERA is over 3.5. Chafin's ERA is over 4.4. And Alex Lang has been optioned. That's over half of your bullpen, right? And like Will Vest has had kind of a rocky year. Ups and downs. He's been better lately. I thought he looked pretty solid this weekend. Bo Brisky hasn't given up a run yet, but only has a few outings under his belt. And again, Foley and Holton really big outs on Saturday. But as we talked about last week, like, who is your highest leverage reliever? Genuinely, that is a real, genuine question. I would love to know. Who do you trust the most in crunch time right now? You're like that. That's a problem. That's a problem. That when I ask that, even if you as an individual are really confident in your answer, I assure you we're going to have a handful of different answers. So this bullpen really needs to figure it out. And that's very easy to say and very, Captain Obvious, great analysis there. But more so, right, to get deeper, like it's another thing, again, we talked about a little bit last week, but you need to figure out who the highest leverage guy is, right? Do you still believe it's Foley? He was like 95, 96 with really brutal command on Sunday. Is it him? Is it still Foley? It's like, well, we're going to keep riding with what we've been using. Is it somebody else? But once you figure that out, then you can somewhat start to, I think, pick up the pieces of like the ripple effect that has been caused by a lack of a true highest leverage reliever in this bullpen right now. So it starts with that and it ends with everybody else stepping up too. Was playing way better. Everybody in this bullpen was way over, expectations in April, and now is way under expectations in May. We want water to find its level here and be a little bit more calm and predictable, if you will, at some point if we can in June. So let's keep the ball rolling. I want to talk about Casey Mize really quickly, and then we will get into stuff. We will do all of that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades. SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to order your plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, you can get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folk in the business and talk to a real person anytime. Pros in the skilled trades can give a competitive edge as well by joining SupplyHouse.com's free master trade program. Every trade master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts in every order. So join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order a plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. What's up, everybody? Welcome back here. Third and final segment, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. The Detroit Tigers. I'm so pleased. Those are 3 really big wins, really big wins. Obviously coming off of the heels of a 5-game losing streak. You don't want to string losses together. You do want to string wins together. Fairly obvious statement there. But just cutting into that deficit even a little bit is so important at this point in the season. And I think now as you head into Pittsburgh, you have a chance to claw your way back to 500, which I think if you can be around that, or dare I say, at 500 going into June, again, like you talk about going into the season, would you have been super pleased with 500 going into June? I think a lot of people would have been like, yeah, like it's not awesome, but I'm not necessarily mad at it. At least we're not out of it 2 months into the season either. So hopefully we can keep the ball rolling here. We're going to talk more about some things that went wrong this weekend. One of those, unfortunately, is Casey Mize, who on Sunday went 4 1/3, 8 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, and 0 strikeouts. His ERA is now 4.71 on the season. He didn't even really use the splitter in this outing. He threw it 8 times, I want to say 7 or 8 times total. The slider was not very effective, as we've said, for 3 or 4 outings in a row as well. Look, the fastball velo is up, which is great, but it still isn't an uber effective pitch. I think it's more effective than it was pre-surgery and pre-injury, but being more effective than it was does not necessarily mean it is super effective. And like in this outing with the lack of the splitter, it really looked like a pre-Tommy John Mize outing. And I say like before his injury. I don't mean he's about to have Tommy John again. I mean, it looked a lot like he did before his surgery. It just, it looked with just more velocity on the fastball. Like that's really the only difference. Just a lot of pitching to weak contact, right? Trying to rely on weak contact to get outs. Still isn't getting a lot of swings and misses. Like I said, 0 strikeouts on Sunday. That's a few starts in a row that have all looked relatively similar. And if he doesn't have the splitter, things could get bleak pretty quickly. Like the ERA is pushing 5 now already. And like this is one start. I'm really not trying to overreact to one start. But again, this is a few in a row that have looked similar. And maybe the lack of splitter in this outing, right, to even, give him the benefit of the doubt, it was maybe even a game plan thing. Maybe that was a Blue Jays specific type of thing. But no matter what, the splitter, not the splitter, whatever, he needs to prove that he can get swings and misses with any pitch right now before we are going to get a lot more confident in his abilities to be, a higher end starter. I don't care if it's the splitter. I don't care if it's the slider. I don't care if it's an ephus. You have to just find some pitch that can get consistent swings and misses. And right now he doesn't have that. So a little bit of, again, like give and take, a little bit of like, it's just one start, but also this is becoming a trend here for that conversation with Mize. Let's talk stuff. Okay. The lineup card on Sunday was absolutely wild. You had Carson Kelly batting fifth and DHing, no Riley Green. Obviously, they had an offensive explosion. They scored 14 runs. I don't think anyone's going to be too mad at the lineup in hindsight. But look, like going into this outing, people were really upset that Kerry Carpenter and Colt Keith of the likes weren't in the lineup. Kikuchi has been, he is one of my favorite pitchers to watch in baseball. This is like genuinely, he has been a joy to watch so far this season. But even more specifically, he has been nearly unhittable against left-handed hitters. Well, yeah, I said that right. Lefties. Go look at his lefty splits. They are remarkable. So I really did not mind the lineup. Now, that is a lot easier for me to say after they score 14. I understand that, okay? I fully understand and comprehend that. But, even going into this outing, it's like, this is not the guy to plant your flag of like the I want to see Carpenter and Colt Keith more kind of, like voice your opinion on that. I want to see them get more opportunities against lefties too. I really do. I promise you I do. I am upset at their lack of opportunity against lefties, especially lefty starters. I am just as frustrated as everybody else in there. This specific matchup, though, was just not, in my opinion, was just not the one to really prove your point. And I think 9 righties, obviously they got to him really well. One of his only poor starts on the season kind of proved that as well. But again, that's way easier for me to say, given I fully admit that. What else do we have? No Riley Green in the lineup. He's been struggling all of May. Not super surprising. Again, obviously a lefty, but Kerry Carpenter came in and pinch hit at one point. Colt Keith came in and pinch hit at one point. Riley Green stayed on the bench throughout this one. I think that was somewhat intentional. Wanted to give him a true day off. Because, that was something they said they were going to do a lot going into the season, and they haven't really. They've been DHing him quite a bit, but he hasn't gotten a ton of just pure days off lately, especially. So giving him, I think, a true day off is hopefully a good thing. And then obviously the team has a day off today on Monday as you're listening to this. Matt Manning sent back to Toledo. Kenta Maeda returns to the rotation. More news from the weekend. Hopefully Maeda can put the slow start behind him. This is a very similar pattern to what he did last year. Really poor start to the season, really poor April and beginning of May, goes on the IL for, 10 days, comes back and is a lot better. Hopefully that's a pattern and he can be solid. But I mean, the dude has an ERA pushing 6. It's going to take a few starts to regain the trust of this fan base. We have an off day today. That's pretty much it for the weekend. And then we are back in business tomorrow on Tuesday and Wednesday in a 2-game home set against the Pittsburgh Pirates, in which you face Jared Jones and Paul Skeens. So, if you're unaware, Paul Skeens, the number 1 overall pick from last year's draft, considered to be one of the best pitching prospects in my lifetime, probably only rivaled by Steven Strasburg back out of San Diego State all those years ago. But he is must-watch TV. He has been absolutely phenomenal to start off his major league career. And Jared Jones was a guy that really has burst onto the scene this year. They've kind of been protecting his arm, it seems like, and not letting him go super deep into ball games. But he has been a strikeout machine. These are 2 of the more noteworthy young up-and-coming pitchers in the sport if you follow, the league as a whole. And the Tigers drawing them in a 2-game set, drawing those two is kind of tough luck. So hopefully the offense can carry some of this momentum it has had throughout this weekend into those games, because they are going to need it. We also have confirmed already on Sunday afternoon that the Tigers will be wearing the City Connects yet again on Tuesday. You know, baseball, it just at its core is a superstitious sport. And the City Connects, for as much as some people didn't like them, or some people really liked them, some people really didn't like them, etc., no matter what you think about them, they're winning a lot of ball games in them. All right. So they're going to keep wearing them. And I think that's something we can all get behind, no matter, I don't care if they wear the shorts that the White Sox wore, what was that, in the 70s for a weekend, if it means they're going to win ball games. So as long as they are winning ball games, I'm going to be happy. I really don't even dislike them. The only thing I dislike is the hats. I think the hats are dumb, but I really don't dislike the City Connects, as we talked about. But again, they're winning in them. So please keep wearing them until the Tigers lose a ball game. And I think that's all I got. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will be back, I think, tomorrow. Again, if you don't get an episode tomorrow, don't be super shocked. But I think we're going to try to have a show tomorrow. So, and if not, I will see you on Wednesday recapping Tuesday's ball game against the Pirates. All right. Again, Memorial Day. Thank you to all who have served, and we are thinking about and indebted to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. Have a great day, everybody. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch you all tomorrow. Go Tigers.